me okay? Does everyone have their headphones on? All right. Good morning, London. It's good to see so many friends here in the audience here today. My name is Andre Serrano. I'm the sBTC resident at the Stacks Foundation. I'm also joined here by my colleagues Kinney and Christopher. And today we're going to be talking about building sBTC-powered applications. We've broken our session into 3 different parts. That'll cover the case for building on sBTC, how to get started, and what are the opportunities in terms of the applications that you can build on this new platform. So my talk is on growing the Bitcoin economy, and really how to get started building these sBTC-powered applications. I'd like to get started with a little bit about the case for building on Bitcoin and why I think that this is so important as a base layer for the new digital economy. Bitcoin provides ownership over your financial data. It means that anyone can send and receive money without going through any central counterparty. That means that nobody can be excluded from the system on the basis of their background alone. Bitcoin is truly for everybody. Bitcoin is the chance to rebuild our financial system on a solid foundation through a system that is more secure, more resilient, and more transparent than legacy fiat central banking. And for these reasons, Bitcoin is hope. It represents economic freedom and self-sovereignty for millions of people around the world through a currency that can't be confiscated or devalued. And that's why I believe that Bitcoin is the best base layer to build this new digital economy. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about Bitcoin's history to understand where we're going from here. The Bitcoin white paper first appeared in 2008. And by 2013, we started to see the first projects starting to launch on Bitcoin. Mastercoin is the first example of a project to launch during that time. And by 2018, something peculiar happened. We entered what is known as the digital gold era, where Bitcoin became this reserve asset that really didn't leave your cold storage, right? It was held deep and was really the store of value. However, I believe that Bitcoin has so much more potential than just digital gold sitting on cold storage. And that's why I'm excited for what I believe is the next era for Bitcoin, one of the Bitcoin economy that's marked by protocols like Ordinals, Taproot, and sBTC. I believe this is the start of the next era for Bitcoin, one that it is at the center of this economy, powering many different types of applications, new use cases, and all new sorts of innovation happening on Bitcoin. And we know that Bitcoin is well-suited to become the base layer of the new financial system because it is the most available and secure settlement layer. Bitcoin settles $15 trillion in annual transaction volume and has had 100% uptime over the past 10 years. However, despite these advantages, Bitcoin is still limited in its scalability and programmability. I speak to a lot of developers building on Bitcoin, and some of the main challenges that we hear are that Bitcoin has high transaction fees, especially during times of increased network congestion. Slow block times is a significant barrier for developer adoption, with blocks taking anywhere between 10 to 30 minutes and can often be quite unpredictable. And lastly, there's still a lack of expressivity in Bitcoin script. So despite all of the innovative things happening on the L1 this year, it's still really hard to build more expressive smart contracts, and Bitcoin doesn't really have native smart contract capabilities. So the key question here, the trillion-dollar question, I believe, is how do we bring DeFi to Bitcoin? So I'd like to introduce sBTC, a Bitcoin-backed programmable asset that will allow you to put your Bitcoin to work in a secure and decentralized way. Here's how it works. A user would send Bitcoin to the sBTC protocol multisig, and Stacks nodes can read that that transaction has occurred, and at that point, sBTC is minted on the Stacks layer 2. from which it is fully able to be used in DeFi, NFTs, and smart contract-based applications. It's fundamentally an easy way to move your Bitcoin onto the layer 2. So here's some of the advantages of using sBTC in DeFi and what you can expect. First of all, it is permissionless. This is different than the vast majority of other Bitcoin-backed assets that are on the market, which are that they use a federated multi-sig model where there's a very closed group of users that are responsible for managing the peg in and peg out of the Bitcoin to the sidechain. sBTC is called an open membership model. It means that anyone can participate in validating the sBTC peg in and peg out transactions. So it is open and permissionless. Next, it is fast. Thanks to the upcoming Nakamoto upgrade on the Stacks chain, we expect to receive transaction latency of around 5 seconds. This is a significant improvement in overall scalability for transacting on Bitcoin and will provide a much better user experience in DeFi and other sorts of applications. Next, it is secure. With the same upgrade, sBTC will receive full Bitcoin-level finality, inheriting 100% of Bitcoin's hash power. It will be as difficult to reorg an sBTC transaction as it will be to reorg a Bitcoin transaction. And lastly, there's a better user experience. Because we're able to offer expressive smart contracts on the Stacks network with all the tooling that's been developed in the ecosystem, it'll be much easier to start building programmable Bitcoin applications. So how big is this opportunity really? I'd like to start off with a few market comps for comparison. Let's take the Ethereum DeFi market, which at today's prices and values sits at around $40 to $50 billion of market cap and total value locked. Comparing that to Ethereum, which sits at around $200 billion, it's around 20% of the market cap of Ethereum. Now, compare this to Bitcoin, the largest public cryptocurrency that exists today. It sits at a $550 billion market cap, and yet has such a small realized on-chain application value, so small that the value doesn't even register on this chart. Let's say you can put it at around $1 billion, maybe less than that. Some easy math can show us that that represents at least a 100x opportunity if it reaches the same levels of Ethereum DeFi. And by the way, that's assuming that Bitcoin doesn't go up in value at all, which I think all of us here probably think that that's unlikely. So I've been talking a lot about the Bitcoin economy. I want to take a moment to illustrate really what we mean by that. And so this is a chart that starts to map the Bitcoin layer stack. At the base layer, you have Bitcoin, of course, which is the foundational, bedrock, and immutable source of trust to power the Bitcoin economy. Next, you have the smart contracts layer, and Stacks is a great example of that, which powers the sBTC protocol. And then lastly, you have the apps and services layer, and these are just a handful of applications that are prepared to launch with sBTC when it goes live. Everything from lending to atomic swaps with Bitcoin on the Lightning Network and on sBTC, decentralized exchange, and much, much more. So what can you build with sBTC? What can you really build with it? Here are a few examples of applications that I'm really excited about that sBTC can begin to unlock. The first is on-chain lending and borrowing. I think that there's a huge market opportunity to provide the best user experience to take out a Bitcoin loan and access stablecoins without going through a centralized counterparty, and the ability to begin to earn a yield on your Bitcoin while accessing stablecoin liquidity. Second is derivative and options trading, really unlocking Bitcoin's value as a pristine collateral asset, the ability to trade Bitcoin on-chain to access stablecoins, and also to use it as collateral to go long-short. Next is peer-to-peer payments, so applications that can leverage the scalable and low-cost transfers on the Stacks network. I think this could be a significant improvement in payment user experience. And lastly, escrow and insurance. I believe locking BitGrow and smart contracts for escrow can unlock some interesting sorts of applications that don't currently exist today. And lastly, I'm excited to share with you all today that as of this week, the sBTC developer release is now deployed on DevNet. This means that developers can start running the software on their local environment, and included in this release includes end-to-end deposit and withdrawal flows for sBTC, so the ability to move Bitcoin into the layer 2, tooling such as an SDK and CLI to interact with the protocol, and a bridge web application and API to provide an easy user interface to interact with the protocol and begin to integrate the bridge functionality into your applications. This is an example of the dashboard that we have created. And together, we can build the Bitcoin economy. Thank you. And